What up, friendos? Welcome back. Today, it's Skull and Bones time. Let's laugh at Ubisoft and find out just how soft they really are, because these are some of the softest people in the games industry. So if you've not been following along, Skull and Bones was in development hell for a very long time. The game is rumored to have cost in excess of $200 million to create because it's been in development hell for so long. And originally, I think it was supposed to be some kind of single-player play off a Black Flag, which was a super smash hit in terms of what the game could have been, because people loved Black Flag, and just making a more involved focus on, you know, remove all the Assassin's Creed stuff and just make a fully pirate game. And that seems like a slam dunk. But instead, they did what Ubisoft and a lot of AAA, or I guess we should say now quadruple A game developers do, which is think, how can we take this good idea and iterate upon it and make a whole bunch of money and make our consumer base happy, and just absolutely ruin it in the service of chasing perpetual revenue, because enough is never enough. And we have to have every game potentially be a 15, 20 year long operating perpetual source of revenue. Which is part of the reason why I'm comfortable saying AAA gaming is just so out of touch with what consumers typically want. And that's why you're seeing this rise of the AA and indie game studios that are releasing products now that capture the interest and the attention of the market very easily and quickly, doing considerably better than some AAA games from these huge publishing arms owned by companies with massive budgets and a whole bunch of experience on the teams, being outdone by shoestring budgets and people shitting in a bucket in their mom's basement. So why am I talking about Ubisoft? Why are we exposing how soft they are? Well, because obviously when the game launched, it was like $70, and $70 US, by the way. And the CEO, who's a bit of a fucking clown, to be honest, who's repeatedly said clown things like straight out of the circus, you guys don't understand cryptocurrency and NFTs and why it'll be great for you, when us, company that consistently pumps out garbage to satisfy investors, monetizes it additionally with something that can't possibly be better when coming from us. Because even if there was some kind of benefit of NFTs and crypto and play to earn or whatever the fuck else buzzword we're going to use, this company wouldn't be the one to bring it to you, because they only care about revenue, and that's why this game's shit. We'll just say the game's probably not really shit. It's just not as good as it could have been, and probably not as good as its competitors already. Some people enjoy it, but again, some people love when women in high heels stamp on their balls. But we're talking about this because the game came out a couple of weeks ago. It was less than a month ago, put it that way. And they've already lowered the price of the game by a substantial amount. I think it's been lowered by $20 US. Came out at 70, was asked on an investor call, why are you launching this game at $70? And they said, oh, it's because it's a quadruple A game and it costs so much money to make, which is irrelevant to the consumer, unless that means the game's going to be amazing, which by all accounts it is not. And then they've said, Ubisoft says Skull and Bones has, quote, record player engagement but fails to announce sales. Now, what companies do when they're just so soft that they're never going to admit, and obviously I know it's an investor thing and they don't want to appear like they've done a big old blunder, a big old boo-boo, they'll just make up new metrics to try and say, like, actually this game's doing really well. Famously with stuff like Overwatch, when the viewership was really low for the game, they'd say stuff like, oh, the watch time is really high, but not inform anyone that the watch time was high because they were running embeds in all their clients, and they were also running a 24-hour rebroadcast, so it was on all the time. If you actually looked at the numbers, like, obviously it betrays that the watch time hours is fucking irrelevant, and they massage numbers like this to try and, you know, say everything's going well. But obviously, we're going to use a little bit of fucking deduction skills here and see that this is not true. So they're unwilling to announce how many people have bought the game and blah, 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 which is fine. So they say, Ubisoft said Skull and Bones has over 4 hours of average daily playtime, which is the second highest ever at the company. Fantastic. One thing that they don't mention here is that they give people free trials to this game which includes in the player stats. So it's not even people buying the game necessarily that are playing for that amount of time. So if that accounts for low amounts of revenue return, irrelevant. And of course, lots of people are going to play a game for free to try and see if they like it, and then we'll see how that goes in short order. But using that instead of announcing sales is obviously why they're using this number, because the trial counts into it, whereas it wouldn't count into sales, which would make the game look pretty bad. So what does this mean? Without a sales figure on monthly active users or daily active users numbers, it's impossible to tell how well Skull and Bones has done. Probably not that well, because again, the game cost over $200 million to make. But from Ubisoft's statement, we can glean that those who are playing Skull and Bones are putting in the hours. It's worth noting Skull and Bones launched with an 8-hour free trial, offering players the chance to test the waters before jumping in with a $70 purchase. It's also on the you play with yourself service or whatever, where you pay a subscription fee and then you get to play their games. So of course that's like Game Pass, or EA's got one. I can't remember what any of these fucking things are called. I don't pay for them other than Game Pass. If it's not on Game Pass, I ain't paying you a subscription to play your roster of games. Miss me with that one. But obviously that would be fair to include in the sales of the games. It's all baked into their ecosystem. But obviously saying things like, people are playing 4 hours a day, when a lot of those people are probably given an 8-hour trial. You're probably going to play most of your 8-hour trial unless the game is actually one of the worst things ever made. Why are you doing that, cat? Why are you doing that? Don't knock over my drink. As soon as I stop recording, man. Just always. So what we do know for sure is the number of people playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag rose 200% on Steam after the release of Skull and Bones, according to tracking website SteamDB. Black Flag's number spiked on February 16th, the day Skull and Bones finally released after years of troubled development. So this is the story that I saw originally, where I was like, I might as well look at how Skull and Bones is doing, and then came across all this news. You stood on my arrow key, cat, please. It was announced in 2017. It didn't come out till 2024. He's literally pushing my camera. I don't know why. So obviously they're saying Skull and Bones is breaking all records. It's doing so well. It's so good compared to all of our other games, which bear in mind they don't have trials on their other games. So if this is doing second highest ever, but none of the other games had trials like this, man, that doesn't look good. So obviously contrast them, peacocking, saying, oh, look at how amazing Skull and Bones is doing, using this metric that nobody in the industry ever uses. And then look at the reality that within 3 weeks of the game releasing at $70, this super triple quadruple A game, as they call it, they've had to reduce the price from $70 down to $45, which is... It just proves the point, people are not going to buy games at $70. And let's prove the point again. Their other game, their first ever game they tried to release at $70, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which according to the reviews is just a bang average game. It's what you'd expect from a AAA company. It's a game that's serviceable, it's playable. It's probably not going to be your favorite game ever. It's not going to be your forever experience. It's just okay. It's getting 7s across the board, which is a bang average game. That released at $70 as well, with packages of up to $130, which if you're buying that, mate, fucking grow up. So there's only really 2 options here that I can see. Either one, they sincerely think that people are going to spend $70 for bang average games, and trust me, some people do, because they don't care. Or option 2, which is they're releasing games for $70 to just milk the people who are going to buy something for $70 that's a bang average product, and then reducing the price drastically within weeks, which basically means whenever a new Ubisoft quadruple A game comes out, I fucking hate that I'm using that term even ironically, whenever another quadruple A priced game comes out, they're just telling people to just wait 2 weeks and you'll get it for 20-30% discount, because so few people are buying it that they're rushing. I'm surprised they're not offering free blowjobs or something if you buy Skull and Bones at this point, because holy shit, it doesn't look good when this is what you're doing. But it just makes me laugh, the contrast between the games are second best ever on this fucking made up metric that we've got with a free trial of 8 hours, but we've had to reduce the price massively. They'd probably style that one out as we did it because we really care. We listened to our consumers and they said We don't want to pay $70 for your bang average game that doesn't have enough content, that costs $200 million, and you're trying to recoup some of that loss, pushing that forward onto the consumers to do, before we decide whether we abandon it or continue to sink money into a project that seems cursed from the very beginning to try and get it up to par with competitors and make it better so more people pay money for the game. But obviously they didn't do it for that reason at all. They did it because they thought that they could. And honestly, they could if the game was good enough, which it isn't. Maybe it will be one day, but who knows if it even gets there at this point, because if it looks this grim that they're putting out press releases about how amazing things are going, yeah, you know that's when something's going bad in the AAA space. So real interesting to me to see all these AA smaller studios releasing games that are capturing the interest of the entire market, costing way less to make, being made as games first and just banging a box price on them and selling reasonable products for reasonable prices. Just really sticking it to all these big companies that have been resting on their laurels, basically skating by on the fact that they could produce something that smaller companies couldn't. But that gap has shrunk massively. Some of these smaller companies are putting out things that look just as good. So when you bridge that gap, and then the fun factor and the love and the, price is there, you're just seeing how exposed the AAA industry is being, because again, they basically got by off the fact that there was just such a huge gap there between them and things that they could produce versus the smaller guys. As soon as you put the industry on even footing, you just see where the, actual fun games are and what people really want to play. But there we go. Thanks for watching as always. Go buy Game Sups, link in the video description, buy some lovely waifu cups, and also, if you do, you'll get a discount. I'll get a kickback. Win-win for everybody. And yeah, if you like Magic the Gathering, I've got a Magic channel now. Link in video description as well. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.